It's Monday, May 18. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. There is good news in the fight being waged against COVID-19 in Jamaica. 6 more patients have recovered from COVID-19 and have been released from isolation, bringing the total number of people who have recovered to 127. Meanwhile, Jamaica now has 520 positive COVID-19 cases. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says in the last 24 hours, 322 new samples have been tested. From these samples, 3 new positive cases were identified. The 3 new cases are imported from the cohort of Jamaicans who returned to the island from the USA on Wednesday, May 13. They are all females, 2 with a local address in Kingston and St. Andrew and 1 from St. Thomas. Their ages range from 37 to 72 years. They were all asymptomatic at the time of sample collection. Jamaica now has 44 imported cases. 201 cases are contacts of confirmed cases, 96 contacts of employees in a workplace cluster in St. Catherine, and 21 contacts of confirmed cases under investigation. Additionally, there are 24 local transmission cases not epidemiologically linked, and 251 are under investigation. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says that the government of Jamaica has received no final request from Royal Caribbean Cruise Line for the cruise ship to enter Jamaica's water. In a statement late Sunday night, the Prime Minister noted that talks have been ongoing since April 21 between the government and the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line on how best to carry out the return of Jamaican ship workers, while at the same time fulfilling the minimum 14 days quarantine requirement. Mr. Holness said the last correspondence between RCCL and the Jamaican government was a request from RCCL made on May 15, 2020 for a conference call with relevant agencies to work out details of the re-entry. The statement noted that if the ship intends to sail into Jamaican waters without formal approval or even courtesy of notice while discussions are still ongoing, then this would represent a serious departure from good maritime practices and a serious breach of good faith and the cooperative nature of the dialogue being had. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton says that the request for disembarking of the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line is governed by procedures outlined in the Quarantine Act and the Public Health Act. Dr. Tufton says that the procedures are known and utilized by the cruise ship industry. It additionally forms part of the overall maritime procedures of Jamaica. Mr. Tufton notes that the Health Ministry has been participating in negotiations for the repatriation of crew members to determine the safest method for this to be done. He underscored the point that the government must ensure the safety of all parties involved and the requisite resources put in place to enable the staff within the public health system to respond to all eventualities. He says the government stands ready to ensure that all citizens are returned to the island. The Senate has approved 2 bills aimed at allowing eligible persons occupying family lands to receive titles.
Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it.
The bills, the Registration of Titles, Cadastral Mapping and Tenure Clarification Special Provisions Amendment Act 2020, SPA, was passed with 12 amendments, and the Registration of Titles Amendment Act 2020, RTA, with 4 changes. The bills should address insecurity of tenure for a large number of persons occupying lands whose names are not on titles, in some cases spanning generations. Leader of Government Business, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, in closing the debate on the bills in the upper house, said they make provision for systematic registration, which will allow communities to give evidence about the occupation and possession of land.
The huge hurdle of having documentation to support a claim in title is going to be removed, and the community will have a voice, and that will be close a large gap that has existed in generational deficiencies in having asserting the right to family land.
The bills are intended to modernize and enhance the administrative structures and simplify the process of bringing land under the RTA registration system and to reduce the cost of delivering and obtaining titles. They should also increase the number of titles issued, improve the timeliness of the delivery of titles under the RTA, or to transfer titles to persons.
Also, the amendment to the Limitation of Actions Act, which is set out in Clause 14 of the RTA Amendment Bill, which again is taking us out of the realm of always having a document in writing. So again, making the issue one which is relevant and contextually appropriate for us, historically appropriate for Jamaica. And this will be supported by the work of the Adjudication Committee, again helping to give voice and cogency to claims for interest in lands that were traditionally undermined by the Statute of Frauds and the limitations.
They will also provide for full operations of land administration and management program processes, including the adjudication processes, to place them under the responsibility of the Chief Executive Officer of the National Land Agency. Oliver Frederick Clarke, who helped transform the media landscape in Jamaica, has died. He was 75 years old. For more than 3 decades, Mr. Clarke helped the Jamaica Gleaner grow from strength to strength. Oliver Frederick Clarke's professional journey began as an accountant in London before he took the role of Assistant General Manager at the Westmoreland Building Society in 1970. In 1971, he joined the Jamaica National Building Society, first as an Assistant General Manager and later General Manager from 1971 to 1976. In 1976, he took up the role of Chairman and Managing Director of the Gleaner Company Limited. For more than 3 decades, Mr. Clarke, a true entrepreneur and visionary, helped the Jamaica Gleaner grow from strength to strength. He saw the opportunity presented by the rapid social and technological changes to transform the traditional ways of doing business and set out to forge new ones that would expand the Gleaner's readership and engagement in a digital age. The merger of Gleaner and the RJR Communications Group was a historical moment in the media history of Jamaica. It resulted in the formation of the Gleaner RJR Group, the largest media house in the English-speaking Caribbean, with a portfolio consisting of print, radio, television, and social media brands. Behind the tales of his business acumen is what some would say was the true measure of Oliver Clarke's success: the ability to bring the right set of individuals with the right skill sets that equates success. He had ethical clarity and was resolute in his dealings. He served as chairman of JNBS for 2 decades, 1977 to 1997. Mr. Clarke was one of the visionaries behind the establishment of the Jamaica National Small Business Loan and has been serving the board since the birth of the company in 2000. In February 2017, Mr. Clarke was appointed chairman of the newly launched subsidiary JN Bank, as well as the restructured mutual holding companies, the Jamaica National Group and the JN Financial Group. Oliver Clarke is the recipient of numerous national awards and titles, including Jamaica's 4th highest honor, the Order of Jamaica. In 1990, he received the Americas Award from the Americas Foundation and was inducted into the Pbcj Private Sector Hall of Fame in 1996. In 2009, he was awarded the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws from the University of the West Indies and the University of Technology. In 2013, he received an honorary Doctor of Laws degree from the Northern Caribbean University. A wreath-laying ceremony was held this morning to remember Jamaica's 3rd Prime Minister, Hugh Shearer, born May 18, 1923. He died July 2004 at the age of 81 years.
A journalist turned trade unionist, Hugh Shearer, in 1963, presented a proposal to the United Nations that 1968 be designated Human Rights Year. This proposal was accepted by the UN General Assembly. In the 1967 general elections, he won the Clarendon seat, which had previously been held by Sir Alexander Bustamante, and was appointed Minister of External Affairs. On the passing of Jamaica's second Prime Minister, Sir Donald Sangster, Mr. Shearer was chosen to be Prime Minister of Jamaica. He was sworn in on April 11, 1967. He served as Jamaica's third Prime Minister from 1967 to 1972. During his term as Prime Minister, 3 alumina refineries were built, along with 3 large tourist resorts. They reportedly formed the basis of Jamaica's mining and tourism industries. Mr. Shearer's term was also marked by increased secondary school enrollment. 50 new schools were also constructed. He became president of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union in 1977 and in the ensuing years made it into the largest trade union in the English-speaking Caribbean. 2 national honors were conferred on Mr. Shearer during his lifetime: the Order of Jamaica on May 23, 1990, and the Order of the Nation on October 21, 2002. Mr. Shearer was also awarded the Doctor of Laws by Howard University in 1968 and the University of the West Indies UWI in 1994.
The coronavirus COVID-19 has dealt the performing arts a huge blow. Theaters and entertainment venues are closed for now. But as is often said in theater circles, the show must go on. It's doing so online. Streaming video makes it possible. You can watch some of Jamaica's best entertainers and performances without leaving the comfort of your home every Sunday at 1 p.m. live right here on PBCJ. For more, we join reporter Marlon Samuels.
Why, 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 why? Why, 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 why? Why, 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 why? Hey, rock and come in. Rock and come in.
Social distancing and self-quarantining makes attending live shows nigh on impossible. The impossible has become possible with Sunday Live, produced by London Murray, business development and production manager. Sunday Live features interviews, musical interludes, and great reggae performers.
Making money, cause me need to own me home. And me want me queen come sit up in me throne. Listen this again, raise the pay, we want a raise the pay. Raise the pay, we want a raise the pay. Cause all me money soon done. Lord, we money soon done. Come on, come on, come on. Raise the pay, we want a raise the pay. Raise the pay, why yo? Money soon done. So when you're packing it, sucking it up, everything gone. Lock up money in a bank, it gone a remand. As we make money every corner we turn on. That's a living secret every cent we earn. I forward with a message of love and peace, and I also forward with a message of black consciousness. So it is very important to be conscious of who you are in a world that is always trying to put you aside. You see me? That's why I come forward with this kind of message. Hey boy, say from the day I blessed my eyes on you, I knew you would be mine no matter what the girls do. And so I said, honey, let me come and we have a conversation. Tell me I'll be that you love. All of it I love.
Each live show is unique, featuring a mix of artists that many had previously not seen up close.
Please don't fail me now. It's on my own. I might lose my way somehow. Oh, that is. Please don't fail me now. It's on my own. I might lose my way somehow. Please,
I have to stop singing this song because I can't remember the last time I got through the entire thing. I might have like Shearer, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. The tears came, but it's a song about love, every kind of love, just the love that helps you to feel like all is well with the world, and appreciation of the vulnerability that comes with finding that kind of love. You know?
The well-produced live show and great music is providing an emotional connection between performers and viewers.
We face real ghetto pressure. Oh, real ghetto pain. A real ghetto pressure. One day the table will turn, and to all men out there, beware for all fire will burn.
Viewers are happy to be treated to great music in the comfort of their homes. Entertainers are happy to be showcasing their talent. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is working to improve its Health Corps Volunteer Project. Acting Director of Policy Analysis and Research at the Ministry and HCVP Project Manager Rowena Palmer says the Ministry will be engaging volunteers for special facilities and the mental health hotline. They will also be completing the telehealth training package for call agents and training of call agents in relevant areas, including gender-based violence. The 6-month initiative, which started on April 6, is designed to support the COVID-19 response at the national level and future public health emergencies in 4 critical areas of operations managed by the Ministry of Health and Wellness Emergency Operation Center. These are operations, public information and education, telecommunications, and administration and finance. Tropical storm Arthur is not a threat to Jamaica. That's the word from the Meteorological Service. Arthur is moving towards the north-northeast near 22 kilometers per hour. A turn toward the northeast with an increase in forward speed is expected later today, followed by a turn toward the east on Tuesday. Maximum sustained winds are near 75 kilometers per hour with higher gusts. The Meteorological Service is monitoring the progress of this system. Now let's delve into the world of business with Gabriel Thompson.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE combined index declined by 1,923 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 78 stocks, of which 31 advanced, 34 declined, and 13 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 7 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Berger Paints Jamaica, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, Barita Investments, and Blue Power Group. Trading firm were Cargo Handlers, Carreras Limited, and Dolphin Cove Limited. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with over 13 million units, followed by Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with 3.5 million units and Wigton Wind Farm Limited Ordinary Shares with 3.2 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, May 15, ended trading at $147.11. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $106.31. The pound sterling traded for $179.59, and the euro ended trading at $161.69. Oil prices climbed by $2 a barrel on Monday, with benchmark Brent hitting a 1-month high and U.S. crude topping $30, supported by optimism about the reopening of economies and output cuts by major producers. Brent crude futures gained $1.99 to settle at $34.49 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures climbed $2.46 to $31.89 a barrel. That's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, we begin in Guyana. President David Granger says he will abide by any ruling from the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, regarding the results of the national recount now underway. InfoHub's Anara Khan has the details.
His Excellency President David Granger earlier on Sunday reiterated that the APNU-AFC coalition will abide by the declarations made by the Guyana Elections Commission following the total recount of votes cast at the March 2 general and regional elections.
I'd like to iterate that whatever declaration is made by the chairman of the Election Commission would be regarded as legitimate.
The head of state was at the time addressing the media following a walkthrough at the Artichoke Conference Center. President Granger disclosed that he met with members of the commission as well as the high-level team from CARICOM. He also expressed confidence in the CARICOM team's role in the recount.
I'm very confident in CARICOM's ability and integrity. And I'd just like to repeat what the ambassador of Barbados to Washington said, that CARICOM is the most legitimate interlocutor on the Guyana situation.
He expressed hope for a speedy conclusion, which is in the best interest of all Guyanese.
We would like to bring the process to a speedy conclusion, but a correct conclusion, so that the people of Guyana could be satisfied with the outcome.
Sunday marks day 12 of the total recounted votes cast at the March 2 elections. Reporting from the Artichoke Conference Center with senior videographer Tejpal Bridgemohan, Anara Khan for InfoHub.
Still in Guyana, GECOM head Vincent Alexander has rubbished claims from opposition leader Brad Jagdeo that he is involved in election fraud. Isaiah Brathwaite of InfoHub is following up that story.
Alexander said he is yet to see any evidence brought forward by the opposition leader that points to him being involved in electoral fraud. He described the actions of the opposition leader as an opportunity to score cheap political points.
I have a reputation that stands scrutiny, a reputation which has been attested to, even by those people who are now trying to drag me through the mud.
Alexander said that it is impossible for any commissioner to attempt electoral fraud since any decision emanating from the commission is made collectively.
I am quite certain that there is absolutely no personal gain to be derived by me. I am not actively involved in the political landscape. My job, as I understand it, is as a constitutional officer to work towards the realization of the Constitution. As for financial gain, I didn't arrive with GECOM yesterday. I've been there for 13 years. I've been in the public service for, prior to that, 25 years at the University of Guyana. And my reputation stands scrutiny.
Given what was said by Jagdeo, Alexander noted that he is in the process of discussing the matter with his lawyers. Isaiah Brathwaite for InfoHub.
Over in St. Lucia, Economic Development Minister Guy Josephs has put public sector workers on notice. He says the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has brought the need to cut the sector into sharp focus. His comments came recently, even as the government and unions representing public sector workers are locked in negotiations. We get the details in this HTS News Force report.
The Minister for Economic Development, Guy Joseph, in a call Wednesday to the Keeping It Real program on Hot 7, stated his position on the ongoing dispute between the public sector trade unions and the government over the part cash, part bond payment offer to the top tier of the public service. Minister Joseph says the fact that a large proportion of the public service is staying at home, apparently not working, and the government's business is still being done, show that the public service is overstaffed.
If there's one thing that COVID has proved, is that the public service can operate with a lot less staff than we have presently and still be as efficient and productive as when you have the full staff complement.
Minister Joseph says the government cannot allow the public sector unions to hold the entire country to ransom.
We should never sink the country for the sake of one sector. And that is my position, and my cabinet colleagues are fully aware. You do not run the country into the precipice just to please some unions and some workers who have not reported to work at all, who have made no contribution for the last month, and we don't blame them for not being there. We know it's because of the COVID situation, but the reality is we don't even miss them because you're not even aware that they're not there because the work is still being done.
COVID-19 has dealt a major blow to the government's revenue collection. The Economic Development Minister says the situation requires sacrifices on the part of all. He warned that if the public sector trade unions refuse to cooperate, the government may have to enact legislation to have them accept its proposal.
The reality is that you need a more lean public service. Now, what are the options available to us? The unions refuse to guide their members to take the deferred payment. Then the next thing is you go to Parliament, you legislate a cut. Or do you restructure the entire public service?
The public sector unions say the government's offer is one that their members are unable to accept and say they expect their full salaries in cash come the end of the month. The public sector unions are arguing that there are other options open to the government which they should seek to explore. Stanley Lucian for the HTS News Force.
The Barbados Workers Union is concerned about increased wages cut. Here's more from Barbados today.
The Barbados Workers Union raises concern about the increasing number of companies unilaterally slashing wages and salaries, and it's calling on the Ministry of Labour to intervene. The BWU's Director of Industrial Relations, Dwayne Paul, said companies have gone into survival mode as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they are now handing down what he described as a prescription to unionized and non-unionized workers. Addressing the issue on the BWU's radio program Workers' Viewpoint yesterday, Paul made it clear that any cut to wages and salaries can only take place with the voluntary consent of workers.
The cutting of wages and salaries of workers is not legal unless you can get a firm agreement from workers that they are going to participate in such an activity. And that agreement cannot be one that is forced or coerced or any other way intimidated for it to be binding. That has to be something that is done totally voluntary in terms of them giving up part of their wage temporarily. However, the information coming to us indicates very much that this is not the case. Businesses seem to have drafted their survival plan, and part of that plan says they will cut salaries and wages, and people have received memos. People have gone to general meetings and be told that their wages will be cut and given an effective date. And just to indicate the level of wages cuts out there range from between 5% to 50% of wages. And this goes against the Wages and Protection Act. The wages and salaries of Barbados are protected under the Wages and Protection Act. You do not have the right as an employer to go into your employees' wages and reduce them at your will and fancy, right?
He said that the disturbing trend was occurring in several non-unionized companies.
We have large corporations who operate in professions like the legal fraternity in Barbados, and some of these legal firms have offices throughout the Caribbean. I have gone to their staff and told them they're taking 30% of their wages, they're taking 50% of their wages. We have in pharmaceutical companies telling for workers that they're going to take 30 and 50%. We have in construction, we have managers and supervisors going around trying to intimidate workers to take 5 and 10% cuts in their wages. And this is not with discussion. This is what we are doing. And we have a fundamental problem with it, and we are saying to workers, you do not have to agree. And where you are confronted with these situations, we want you to voice your concerns, because we have to raise this, because the government and the Ministry of Labour specifically has to address this matter. We cannot have persons being put in this situation.
There are no active cases of COVID-19 in Dominica. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit made the announcement on Sunday after the last patient's test returned negative.
Our country, like the rest of the world, is facing a defining challenge. But I am proud to report tonight that we are not daunted, and that through your sacrifice, the heroic efforts of our essential workers, and the help of friendly governments, we are manfully meeting the moment. This pandemic is not something we expected. But when the history of this time is written, let it show that this generation came together, organized and sacrificed, and defeated a quintessential threat to our country.
In sports, reggae boy Leon Bailey could be facing disciplinary action from the Jamaica Football Federation. Last Saturday, Bailey, on an Instagram Live with 876 stream, said the JFF would be the downfall of the national team if they didn't qualify for the 2022 World Cup. JFF President Michael Ricketts says Bailey has been referred to the disciplinary committee of the JFF for possible action to be taken. Bailey, who made his debut for the Reggae Boys in June 2019, has 6 caps and 1 goal so far for the national outfit. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, stay home, stay calm, and stay safe.